So the question is, how do you manage coaching multiple events at the same time? Speaking for the high school level, you don't have any other option. My whole career, I've coached sprints, hurdles, and jumps. So I think you have to really run a sort of commonalities-based program. You have to look at what a lot of the qualities that kids have are going to be or need to be addressed. Sprinters can do, their acceleration work, and jumpers can do their approach work, and hurdlers can do, starts over 1 or 2 hurdles, and you can, outdoors at least you can have 2 lanes of hurdles, and then sprinters do another thing and doing off the runway approaches for your jumpers and address all those things at the same time. If you have kids that jump and hurdle, well, maybe they only get to do a certain volume of one and a certain volume of the other, and you just have to manage that way. And the tricky thing there, because I know I've crippled a couple kids by being lazy or just not getting distracted by having 350 kids, they'll try to do the whole jump workout and then try to sneak off and do the whole hurdle workout. So that's what you have to be careful of. But you just got to try to combine the different qualities, I think, and just making sure you're not doing a speed day on one day for your jumpers and then a tempo day for your sprinters and then switching it the next day so they're never recovering. Oh, my drink. Magic.
All of us have coached multiple events before, from sprints, hurdles, jumps to multis, some throwing events, things like that. So I think that we have a similar approach. There are a couple of things you can do, a couple of ways to approach coaching multiple events at practice. Depending on your academic schedule and your time demands and when the kids have to get home and things like that, there are a couple of ways to approach it. If you're in a situation where you have a longer block of period to practice, maybe 4 hours, maybe you can have a 1:30 group and a 2:30 group and a 3 o'clock group. But if you're in a situation where everyone's in school till 3 and they got to be done by 5:30 or something like that, then I think you have to definitely go with the commonalities approach. Our schedule at Harvard's kind of truncated. When kids get out of class, we have some flexibility, but I'll have a 2:30, a 3 o'clock, and a 3:30 group, or 2:30, 3, and 4 o'clock group. But there are some times a year where that doesn't work, and so everyone comes at 3 o'clock. And so if I have sprinters, hurdlers, multi-eventers, even if I had throwers, and when it's an acceleration day, we're doing accelerations all together. The hurdlers might be doing accelerations over hurdles, or speed development over hurdles. The sprinters might be doing it flat, type of thing. So you can do speed development with 2 different groups at the same time, or acceleration with 3 different groups at the same time. You probably don't want 40 kids doing the same thing with just one coach, but sometimes that might be what you have to do. The other thing is that you can take your athletes and say you have a combo person, like a jumper sprinter or a hurdler jumper. Think, we didn't jump today, or we didn't hurdle today. You got to have enough confidence in your whole body of work to maybe skip something a certain week. So maybe you hurdle this week and you sprint next week in practice, or you got the hurdling done in the meet and you sprint the next week in practice. So I've got a lot of combo people that sprint and jump, or hurdle and jump, and we try to make sure that we're evaluating our meets and our competitions as part of the work we're getting done to be ready for our big meets later. So, anybody else? Sorry.
And so the key word is commonality-based. Commonality not just for technical aspects or for modes of training, but we all tend to focus on speed, power-based training. I want to become faster and more powerful, build my athletes that way, and then I can plug them into any of their events, and they should be better. So I can develop speed and power qualities, and they're a long jumper, their long jump should improve. If I can develop speed, power qualities, and they're 100-meter runners, their 100 meters should improve. So when we're in the weight room and cleaning, that is the same as doing a long jump takeoff. It's the same as a block start. We're still working with the nervous system, developing speed and power, and then we can plug them back into their events. But similarly, just getting creative at practice and having 2 lanes of hurdlers, 2 lanes of blocked to 30 meters, and in the first 2 lanes, your jumpers are doing approach rehearsals with acceleration, and you know where their takeoff mark is. And you can stand in one place and be able to see sprinters, hurdlers, and jumpers all doing acceleration work at the same time.
So not to reiterate a lot of what everyone else is saying. First of all, I agree with having a commonalities-based approach, not just from a technical standpoint, but also an energy system and neural standpoint. Beyond that, you need to be hyper aware and just very, very simply embrace your physical environment. When I say that, if you know you have X amount of kids at a specific time period and you know you're available or you have a certain space available on the track, you need to get creative as in how you use that space. Probably one of the most creative people when it comes to coaching multiple events is a good friend of mine, former colleague, Mike Delgado at Boston University. He coaches the throwers, the vertical jumpers, and the multi-event athletes. That's all over the spectrum. That's a lot. And a lot of the times, based on their schedules, they will be there at the same time. And I saw him formerly in our throws cage. He was simultaneously coaching a shot putter, a discus thrower, who were both taking full throws, a high jumper that was doing short approach jumps, and a multi-event athlete that was doing a multi-jump circuit. And the way the cage was set up, it's essentially a giant triangle coming out from the shot. A curtain is drawn. The shot putter was throwing into the curtain. The discus thrower was on the other side in a makeshift discus ring, throwing into the perpendicular cage. And then next to the discus thrower, a few feet away, waiting her turn, was a high jumper doing short approach jumps. And then as she jumped to the left of the high jump spot was the multi-eventer doing multi-jumps. So he actually had a flow based on the environment that he had. And he fashioned the practice knowing that it was a technical day, but he had a block that he could make work. And as Ron's alluding to, if you have hurdlers, jumpers, and open sprinters, and you know you have X amount of lanes, be creative in how you use and how you assign those lanes on that day. So that's one key component in making sure that you're not spreading yourself. If you have the entire track available, you might not want to have the jumpers going all the way in the long jump pit and the hurdlers down at the 110 start if they're at opposite ends. That's just not functional. You need to find some way to make that work for you instead of making each athlete wait 10 minutes at a time for your attention. So you just need to be creative, embrace your environment, and figure out what's the optimal situation on that day.